Shut your yap.
What's going on, everybody? What's happening,
Andrew
everybody?
McClutchin.
This is Backstreet Sports. Alongside Chris Stacks.
We got it.
Tanner Gills, T.
Yes, sir.
I'm
What's
Max
going
James. Happy to be here with you on Thursday, June 13th, and a day in which the Phillies, for the first time since April 25th, are not in first place anymore.
Oh, no!
Now currently one game behind the Atlanta Braves for first place in the NL East. Guys, we're just not playing our best baseball lately. We'll dive into the Phillies shortly. Eagles talk. Carson Wentz gets an extension. NBA Finals. Kevin Durant's Achilles tear. Obviously, he's going to be out for an extended period of time. We'll get to some side notes. David Ortiz gets shot in the Dominican Republic. We got the U.S. Open today at Pebble Beach. Brooks Koepka looking for 3 straight U.S. Opens. The Stanley Cup final last night, Game 7. St. Louis Blues. The first time in 51 years. And also, just another side note here, the U.S. Women's National Team wins 13-0 in their opening round.
Oh, yeah!
So let's go to it right now. Phillies 38-30 overall record, now one game behind the Atlanta Braves. As I said, first time since April 25th. I think what I want to start with is Jared Eichhoff, the first point I want to make here. Obviously, his start
What's the problem now?
on Monday night wasn't the best, to say the least, and he's not going to be making his next scheduled start, which would have been this weekend in Atlanta. There's no name that has been announced yet. So first question I want to ask is, who's, in your guys' opinion, who should take his spot in the rotation?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, Max. I wish I had the answer for. But yeah, to answer your question, T, what's the problem now?
I agree.
He wasn't pitching with baseballs. He was pitching with beach balls. And, every pitch he was throwing was heading out 400 feet past home plate. And how about that game? A record for most home runs in a single MLB game. And, I think I sent the text to the group message after the third home run. Yep. Next guy going to Double-A. And it might be good for him because it looks like it lit a fire under Nick Pivetta because he went.
It's about damn time.
He went a full 9 his last start. But as for to answer your question, so we got Pivetta on the mound tomorrow, and then Nola Saturday, and it still says to be determined on Sunday. That I'm assuming that's when Eichhoff was scheduled to start.
Correct.
I mean, do you just do what you did with Jose Alvarez like a week ago,
Like
and
the
you
opener?
you start a reliever?
Yeah.
Because I can't really. Do you call up Cole Irvin again? I don't know. I really don't know. When do you guys take it?
Well, Cole Irvin, his last 2 starts were a little shaky. He's only pitched 4 in 3 innings.
Albeit while still being a kid.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with Cole Irvin. I think he still needs to prove himself. And after seeing his first start, we know how good he can be. And just like T said, he is still a kid. So I think maybe another shot.
Honestly, I would go with Cole. Only because, like I said, he's a kid, and I still think he has more to prove. And we've seen the track record with everybody else. We've seen what everybody else can do. I mean, who else is there? Because at this point, you're not going into free agency looking for somebody, and there's not really anybody out there in free agency. It's going to be expensive to bring somebody else in, and then you're going to have to give up a top-end prospect, which we're not exactly prepared to do. So, I mean, what else is there? You got to go with the young guy. You got to keep trying him. That's the only option you really have.
The only other thing I can think of without going out and getting another guy or bringing up Cole Irvin is if you rest him in the bullpen for a couple days, Vince Velasquez.
He just pitched last night.
I know.
For an inning.
I know.
Yeah.
If it's only 1 inning, if you give him, he's off today. The pitching is good enough to give him off tomorrow and Saturday, maybe he can start Sunday. That's the only other option I can see.
Yeah, look, the way I look at it is we got 4 guys, in my opinion, that I'm okay with. Eflin's been great this season. I have confidence in him. Pivetta came back, and he's been lights out. And then Arrieta is a veteran guy that I'm confident in if he has to start a playoff game. And Nola's still figuring things out for the most part. So if obviously this weekend on short-term notice, we're not going to be able to get a player via trade. But I think if we can before the deadline, and I'm not talking about a Madison Bumgarner, just, maybe like a Mike Minor, somebody that, you can count on or rely on, a veteran guy who's been around for a long time, maybe has some postseason experience, and, kind of get one starter in here to fill out this rotation, because right now the 5th spot is basically up for grabs and no one's really latching onto it. So I think if we can get one starter before the deadline, and it does, again, like I said, it doesn't have to be a superstar, just somebody that we can kind of count on for consistency, I think that would help. Also, Adubarai Ramos just got activated off the IL, so finally we get a bullpen arm back in the bullpen. Pat Neshek and Adam Morgan, hopefully within the next week or two, they should be back as well. And it comes at a good time. We got 3 in Atlanta this weekend. The first place Braves, which is going to be a tough series. And then after that, we go to Washington for 4 games. The next 20-plus games are actually division games, because I know we just came off this big stretch of games where we faced non-division opponents. But now we have that big stretch coming up against division opponents. One stat I saw yesterday when I was, going through Twitter, the Phillies, when they score 4 or more runs this season, they're 34-6. They have a 34-6 record when they score 4 or more runs. When they score 3 or less runs, they're 4-24. So 4 is the magic number. If we can, now last night we scored 0, but so obviously you're not going to win any game scoring 0. But the magic number
It's stupid.
We can score 4 or more runs. It looks like 34-6 record. We got a great chance to win. My next question is going to be about the top of the lineup. Cesar's obviously struggling. We've seen that now for basically since Andrew McCutchen went down. I mean, he was looking hot in the month of May in that 5, 6, 7 hole, that area of the lineup. Then he gets moved to the top of the lineup, and he struggled. So basically, if you had to pick a player right now, I know we have Roman Quinn come off the DL soon, hopefully. Who are you guys looking to fill that role? Do you keep Cesar there? Maybe he gets out of it. Do you put like a hot bat like Scott Kingery up in the top of the lineup? What do you guys think?
Well, now you're not in a stretch this now. Start experimenting. Like you said, we got some division games coming up, and now this ain't the time to start, playing around with the lineup at this point. You want to have your lineup completely finalized at this point. I'm going to suggest something that we said last week, and I completely agree with what Chris said, and that was to put JT Realmuto at the starter, at the 1 spot, because he's been your most consistent hitter. He's been clutch in a lot of situations. And frankly, you really don't have a whole lot else in your lineup. I wouldn't put Scott Kingery there because of his youth, but my suggestion would be JT Realmuto.
JT is not a bad bet. I know a lot of people may be against that just because he doesn't have the speed. He's never been a leadoff hitter before in his career, but he's a true professional. So,
but what you're looking for, like at that 1 spot, it's not just you're not just looking for speed. You're looking for consistency hitting. You're looking for patience, and those are the things that sometimes get overlooked. The first thing we want to look at is is he a speedy guy? Can he steal the bases? But you also look at, can he work that count against the pitcher? Is he patient? Is he going to swing at the first thing that he sees?
right.
Is he going to play mind games with the pitcher a little bit? Like, does he understand his assignment? That's one of the main responsibilities of being the number 1 hitter in the lineup, not just having speed. So, yes, while JT Realmuto doesn't necessarily have the speed that we're looking for, he can still add value with his at-bat presence.
I appreciate you giving me props for saying JT Realmuto should be at the top of the lineup, but
It don't happen often.
that was actually, Max's suggestion. But, I
won't take credit. We're on the same page here.
Okay, are we? Are we? Yeah, because last week I did say Scott Kingery just because, I'm crazy and he has a hot bat right now. But when you really step back and you try to look at the whole picture, I don't think it's a good idea to put Scott Kingery up there. I mean, of everybody we have available to us on this team, JT does seem like the right guy. For now, at least. Because I feel like it's been since that Dodgers series that Cesar's gone, this cold streak. I forget the numbers that Tom McCarthy said, but Cesar's 4 for his last 40-some at-bats. He has been
struggled.
really cold. He has not been getting on base a whole lot. And, yeah, JT has been other than Segura, I would say JT has probably been the most consistent batter on this team. I don't think it would hurt to experiment with. I know you said it's not time for experimenting, but it is an experiment because you don't know. And I mean, the only other guy I would maybe put up there is Gene. But then again, like you said, Gene is not exactly a patient hitter.
See, that's my only thing with Gene.
Yeah, and because you really do got to work the count as a leadoff guy. I mean, I know we keep talking about maybe we could get a cheap guy out there for something, but right now, as far as making trades, I'm much more concerned about the pitching. I just honestly hope that Cesar can figure this out because typically he has been a average to pretty good leadoff guy. He's just in a cold streak in this past week and a half, 2 weeks. But as of right now, maybe to light a fire under him, maybe you should put him back to the seventh hole in the lineup.
I like Gene as leading off because he did at one point have the highest on-base percentage. And I think that's good to start off a game. You want those guys to continue what they see in front of them. And I like Gene leading off. And also, I don't know if they'll do it, but I'd like to see maybe Bruce down at the 5 spot still, because him and JT is on the 5 spot.
Yeah.
Sometimes Bruce is in 6th, and then yesterday, what was he, 3rd and 3rd?
Well, they did that because they gave Harper the night off.
But I said this earlier. I like Harper batting too because I feel like he's the most confident when he's batting at the 2 and most successful. So there's a lot of things that I think that they could do to change the lineup and make this a better team.
The thing that I'll say about the Segura thing, and again, he's a great hitter. The only problem is he doesn't really walk a lot, and he's really aggressive. He doesn't steal a lot of pitches. One thing Andrew McCutchen was great at, even though his average wasn't that high, was the fact that he took a lot of pitches to start the count, especially to start off the game. I really think the way our lineup was producing runs before the McCutchen injury happened was pretty consistent up and down the lineup. Now, obviously, McCutchen gets hurt, and Gabe has to make some changes. He started out by putting Harper in the 2 hole. Segura went to the 3 spot, and that hasn't made much of a difference. Cesar gets taken out of the 6 spot and gets moved up to the number 1 spot, the leadoff spot in the order. So my thing would be, JT would be fine, even though many people probably wouldn't agree with it outside of this room. But I think one thing I would suggest is Roman Quinn when he gets healthy. He's had leadoff experience in the past. He's got speed at the top of the lineup. The one thing that he hasn't been able to do throughout his career is stay healthy. So I think when he gets off the injured list, if you plug him into the leadoff spot and everybody kind of fills back into their normal role, I would even consider moving Harper back to the 3 spot and put Gene at number 2, because Gene struggled. He's not struggled, but he hasn't been as productive as he was early on in the season lately. Mm-hmm. And I think he was really, playing well and, hitting well out of the 2 spot. So I think if you were to move him back to the 2 spot, Harper back to the 3, take Cesar out of the 1 spot, put him back down at 6, kind of stretch the lineup a little bit. And hopefully Roman Quinn, he's been playing well in his rehab assignment or during his rehab assignment in the minor leagues. Obviously, he hasn't played major league ball in a long time. But if you can get him healthy, and he can give you something at the top of the lineup, even, just get on base, maybe steal a base. And, guys, we haven't talked about it much, but we don't steal bases.
I'm sorry. Just my thing with Roman Quinn, because I made the suggestion when it was preseason to try him out at the leadoff spot, and, of course, he gets injured again. Last year when he was up with the team, he was a really good base runner when he got on base. And that's the thing. When he got on base, I think he was in the preseason when he was in the lineup, he was batting well under 200. That's my thing with Roman. I don't know where his contact is, especially right now, because he has been injured since the start of the season. It's certainly, in a perfect world, he would be my leadoff guy because he has that speed, and I would like to think he has the contact ability of like a D. Gordon or something. That's my only concern with Roman is his ability to put the bat on the ball.
Yeah.
And to draw walks.
He's previously in years past, he's been a highly touted prospect in our organization. So he has talent.
Right.
It just matters staying healthy. One thing that I didn't mention yet, but I want to, the fact that Scott Kingery, he's played a serviceable center field. But if you can get Quinn back out there in center field, Kingery can move to the third base position, and we can get Franco out of the lineup because he's struggling so badly. He's batting 206 now.
Which is crazy how big of a start he had in the beginning of the season, and now all of a sudden he's just dropped off.
I mean, I know I'm the crazy one on the show, but did we really think he was going to stay that hot in the 8-hole?
Yeah.
I didn't really.
Honestly, I thought the way he started out, it wasn't just a game or two. It was an extended period of time where he was playing well.
Yeah, there was a time where he was leading the team in home runs and RBIs. And, yeah.
Listen, he only has 9 home runs.
It's ridiculous.
A man with his power, he should have more than 9 home runs. I know he's hitting in the 8 spot, but still.
Would you, none of the teams in the league are stupid, but would you, if you get Roman Quinn back, you get him healthy, and, you got Adam Hazley as, you keep him up here, for the long term as a bench guy, do you shop around with Maikel Franco?
See, the only problem with that is 2 things. One, we're going to get next to nothing for Franco if we trade him the way he's playing right now.
That's what I was thinking.
2, I don't really want to mess with Hazley's progress. I think they want to get him regular ABs. I don't think they want to use him as a bench piece. They kind of want him to be like an everyday player. He's, the number 7 overall pick a couple of years ago. So, those guys aren't, bench bats. And I know what you're saying now because our bench is so thin. Hazley would be an upgrade there. I don't know if the general manager Matt Klentak would go that direction. But Sean Rodriguez and Phil Gosselin are giving you next to nothing on the bench. Originally, Jay Bruce was supposed to be that guy until McCutchen gets hurt.
So, do you then just keep Nick Williams up here? Because he was sent down a little bit ago. Granted, yeah, he did get 2 of the 3 hits last night.
Yeah, right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, you are making sense because you are the smart one on the show.
We're all smart, Chris. We're all smart.
It does. Shut up. It does make sense to send Hazley down. I know. With me, it's just wishful thinking. If someone puts the decision in front of you, who are you sending down to play long term? Not long term, but regular at bats in AAA. Nick Williams or Adam Hazley? It's going to be Adam Hazley. Yeah, but that's not going to happen until I think Roman Quinn is 100%.
One thing about Nick Williams, I will say, looking at his stats last night, because he hasn't really done anything this year. We've talked about him, but when we talk about him, it's all negative things. Right. I looked up his career stats. He's batting like close to 270 for his career. He had 17 home runs last year, majority of them coming off the bench for us. Obviously, he hasn't been the same player coming off the bench this season, but
that's why I'm so surprised that so many people are ready to give up on him. He's a young guy who has only 1 full year of MLB experience.
Yeah.
We forget about it, but he was going to be our opening day right fielder until we signed Bryce Harper.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember
he's 14 for 75.
Because we were discussing this.
17 home runs last year. That's the one thing that's...
How many home runs does he have right now?
It was...
1.
It was
he's not getting everyday playing time.
No.
And he's been up and down in the minors a couple times.
And we were talking about this, I think it was the show before the Phillies actually finally signed Bryce Harper. We were talking about the lineup, and you were looking at me crazy when... And don't get me wrong, it is crazy. You put Nick Williams at the number 3.
Right.
But it's like, who else are you going to put there? You're going to put Hoskins 4, or who knows? Maybe you put Hoskins 3, Williams 4, because it's like,
well, Williams is struggling. Listen, from my personal experience playing sports growing up, there was a time when, every coach has rotations, and I'm relating this to basketball now, but coach goes through rotations, and basically when you're not getting the playing time that you want, such as I was during my high school career for a season, I think that when you're going up to the plate, you try to do too much. Like when I would get out on the court, I would try to do too many. I would try to do too much. It's almost like I need to get noticed. I need to do something to get playing time. Nick Williams may feel like he needs to get on base every at bat. He's swinging for he needs to, he needs to do something to wow the coach or the manager in order to get playing time, and that can mess with a guy's mental focus. So I feel like when we see him struggling up there, I know he has. We've seen him. He has talent. He's been up in the major leagues for 2-3 years now, so it's not like he doesn't have talent. I think it could be a mental thing where he's just trying too hard at the plate. He needs to get noticed. He feels like, I don't want to keep getting sent down to AAA. I want to stay in the majors.
And on that note, he just really needs to learn how to just play his role. I mean, look, your time's going to come, whether it be with this team or the next team. But if you're thinking like that at the plate, then that's the wrong mentality to approach the plate with.
I don't think that he can help it, though. Because this is another thing. This is another reason why I think Bryce Harper has really dropped off when it comes to his offensive stats. When you compare his stats from 2014, 2015 to now, it has severely declined. Now, do you think that's just the pressure of being one of the top 3 guys in all of baseball? Or do you think it's just, I don't know. I don't know. You're shaking your head.
The game's changed.
Tanner's getting pissed. Right?
Yeah, but the game has changed with more home runs.
More
guys
just
hitting home runs.
balls. I feel like the balls. I was listening to the discussion or this topic the other day. Something with the balls. I feel like, man, they're just when somebody hits them, they just fly out of the ballpark. Now I don't know if they're doing something with them. Do you think that that they're juiced maybe? Or
They juice the
got
balls?
Tom Brady looking at those baseballs.
and that's a serious question because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, look, if you look at the stretch of home runs being hit from even just a couple years ago, like 2010 to now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just skyrocketed. And I don't know if it's because you can't just look at that and say, oh, they're hitting the weight room a lot more. They're just hitting it now.
I'm pretty sure last year it was the most home runs ever hit in an MLB season. Or was that the year before?
The year before.
It was the year before, where Trumbo led the freaking league in home runs.
So
Mark Trumbo.
I don't know. Back to the Nick Williams thing. You originally asked, should Nick Williams stay on this team, as a bench player? My thought would be possibly, depending on. I mean, when I look at this, if I can get Scott Kingery back to third base in any way, and get Franco out of the rotation, and I don't know if you want to have him have a pitch hit appearance here and there, he'll give you probably next to nothing. And we've seen that for almost 2 months now. But I think if we can get Scott Kingery back to third base, Roman Quinn, see what he gives you when he gets healthy. If you don't, or if he doesn't produce for you, go out and try to get. You don't need to get, like I said, a superstar. Just get a guy in there that has postseason experience or is having a good season, but you don't have to give up the whole farm for him.
Two more things I want to address before we go on to another topic. Something that I when it comes to baseball that has always always gives me a good feeling is guys getting out by contact. And what I mean is last night the dude, what's his name, Merrill Kelly?
Merrill Kelly.
Jeez, 30-year-old rookie. Only 5 strikeouts, yeah, but I'm seeing like Bryce Harper comes up to pinch hit and it's a fly out. And don't get me wrong,
he laced it. He laced that ball right to center field, hit hard.
Yeah. And it's still an out, but it's not a strikeout. And then like with Maikel Franco, I'm pretty sure he did go 0 for 3, but
I think Merrill Kelly only had 4 or 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, you only have. So I mean, at least they're making contact with the ball. I'm trying to look at it in a positive light.
Right. It's still not a base hit.
Yeah, I know, but it's still making contact. It's better than a strikeout.
That's almost like
it's better than a strikeout.
It's almost like the argument that I have with pressures versus sacks in football. Like, okay, you put pressure on the quarterback, but you still didn't get the job done because you didn't sack the quarterback. The same thing here. I'm sorry. I hear what you're saying.
No, but
I hear exactly what you're saying about contact.
Okay.
Yes, they're making contact with the ball. Freaking beautiful. They're still getting out.
Once upon a time, when I played baseball as a child, I was going through a big slump. I was like 0 for 8 or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, the past 2 games, I have nary to get a hit. And
you gotta make some changes.
Oh yeah. And guess what? I went up and I crushed the ball like 3 times. All 3 times it was a fly out, but I was like, you know what? At least I made contact. And then the next game, 2 for 3. I was like pretty proud of
There you
myself.
go.
So you're the reason why
all this stuff can relate somehow. We can all relate it. We got some personal stories we can all relate.
So you're the reason why we have participation trophies now in sports.
Oh yeah, it's like they didn't start it before we were born. Calm down.
I'm just saying.
And the one last thing I want to address, your idea of getting a guy like Mike Minor. I don't hate the idea. The problem is the Rangers. Yeah, they are 9 games behind in their division, but they are just holding on to that last wild card spot. So
they're playing well.
They're
recently.
not a team that I don't think is going to be selling, at least yet.
Right.
So I mean, I don't hate the idea, but I don't think
a guy like that though, not like a Madison Bumgarner. Even though Mad Bum hasn't had the best season, but if we can just get a number 3, a number 4 in a rotation, even like another like Arrieta at this point in his career, not from a couple years ago, and just plug in a guy that you can count on.
I think it would be more likely that the Giants would look to shop him just because they're dead last in the National League West.
They're going to be asking for everything.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to give that up. One, because this year's probably realistically not our season.
No, not
to win it all. But if we can get another starter and fill out our rotation, because the way Eflin, again, 8 innings last night, he struck out 9 guys. I mean, the guy's been pitching great all season
He
long.
pitched fine. He only gave up 2 runs, so there's no reason why that the batting should have been able to.
Yeah,
pick him up.
You know, just a couple names on this list from the bullpen that are going to get healthy. Obviously, Sir Anthony might need Tommy John, but a couple of guys that are going to come back that have been good for us. Like Neshek's been good in the past. Ramos has been good in the past.
Hector Neris for All-Star.
Okay, now that
Hector Neris, like he's been great. So the bullpen.
Now that you mentioned that, I actually have a list of the 7 relievers who we use and their ERAs currently on the team. Suarez, 9. Garcia, 7.36. Davis, 5. Velasquez, 5 as a reliever. Nicasio, 4.78. Hammer, 3.86. Alvarez, 3.7. And
Hector Neris.
1.95.
Wow, what an ERA.
Hector Neris with a 1.95 ERA. And that's not counting the guys like Adam Morgan has an ERA in the low 2s.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get him back.
No, Adam Morgan's been great.
Ramos has been good for us in the past, so we know he's got talent. And Neshek's been good for us in the past, too. So there's 3 names on this list that I have in front of me that we should be getting back in the next couple weeks. And pair that with Hector Neris. That's 4 guys towards the back end of the bullpen. Jose Alvarez.
Stop looking at me and smiling.
Jose Alvarez hasn't been terrible for us either. So he's a lefty. Jose Alvarez, that means a lefty. He gives you a different, perspective. A lot of teams may only have 1 good lefty in our bullpen. We could have 2 if we can get Morgan back healthy. And then hopefully Robertson, and then that'll give us 5 or 6 guys.
I keep forgetting that we have David Robertson, honestly.
Hopefully we can get him back soon. One thing I want to point out, because I wanted to ask Tanner this thing. Rhys Hoskins at the plate, been so consistent all season long. You look at his stats, they don't change. But recently he's popping out a lot. So I just want to know, or I want to know from you, him being your favorite Philly and all, what have you seen from Rhys Hoskins that you like this season? And what have you seen, I should say, this recent stretch? And what have you seen that you think he can improve on a little bit?
Well, I do think Rhys is the best player on the Phillies. But recently, I haven't really seen. When was the last time he hit a home run?
It's been like
it's
13,
been a while.
14
It's been a while for Rhys. But
he's popping out a lot. I'm just seeing he almost like he's trying to hit a home run, but he just keeps uppercutting his swing.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe he just needs to go back and just look at his swing and see what he can change by the help of the trainers or anyone on the staff, and work on it.
A lot of people are going after our hitting coach for our offense being so weak. John Maley, our hitting coach, a lot of the radio shows.
Yeah, but
I'm listening to.
look at how we were hitting in the beginning of the season. You can't necessarily blame that on the hitting coach at this point.
Bring back Matt Stairs.
I think maybe his slump is contagious on this team, and I think maybe that's what's going on.
I know this isn't necessary. Sorry, Tanner.
No, you go. You got something important to say.
I am really bad at interrupting you guys.
Nah,
I'm
dude,
sorry.
we can get a quick thing. We got 2 minutes for this topic here.
No, okay, no. I know this isn't exactly a positive comparison considering the way we just talked about him, but I feel like this is very similar to like Maikel Franco and his problems with swinging the bat. Rhys is a much better player than Maikel Franco. Granted, he is, but looking at him at the plate, it's reminding me a lot of what Maikel Franco went through 2-3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Even last year, meh, and this year, meh. Right. But I don't know. I think he just has to figure it out.
Yeah. If you look at the numbers, what I personally do is you look at the 300, 400, 500, the 300 average, the 400 on base percentage, and the 500 slugging. Rhys Hoskins has been covering or checking all those boxes basically the whole season. He's been right around all those numbers, which are all great. And our whole lineup, when I was looking at it, they're all pretty consistent. The averages are okay. Cesar, JT, you look up and down the lineup, those guys have pretty solid averages. Their on base percentages okay. They're slugging, back and forth depending on if they hit for power. So when you look up down this lineup, they got the stats that show you that they can produce at the plate. They just haven't been lately. And hopefully next Thursday when we're sitting back here after the Atlanta series, after the Washington series, hopefully, we turn things around because these division games are important. I know it's June, but when we're sitting here in August looking back on, hopefully, I wish we could have won this game, or I wish we could have tried harder here or played better here. So
at the end of the day, hey, Phillies, this is all.
Enough is enough. Start playing with some jam in here. Let's go.
All right, hopefully we can get a couple series wins in the next 2 series against the the Braves and the Nets. But now let's dive into some Eagles talk here. Carson Wentz gets a 4-year, $128 million extension, $107 million.
Oh, yeah!
Guaranteed. I'll start with you, Chris.
Me.
This works well in my opinion, for both sides. When you first heard this news, what goes through your mind?
Why couldn't it have happened 2 hours earlier so we could have talked about it last week?
That's fair.
No,
That's fair.
but no, it's
It's about damn time.
It's good news. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily enough cap available right now when that contract does hit the books, which it doesn't hit the books until the season after this coming one. I mean, I'm sure it's very reassuring for Carson himself just to know that he doesn't have to worry about the stress of a new contract.
Yep.
I don't mind that it's a 4-year deal. I really don't.
To go along with his 2 years already on his contract.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm still concerned about his health issues. Because we've heavily discussed those as well. He needs to have a good, full, healthy season. And does good, full, healthy season mean a Super Bowl? Not necessarily. It'd be preferable if he can lead this team to the playoffs.
I'm right there with
at
you.
Least
If we don't win the Super Bowl, obviously it would suck.
We're
but
screwed.
If I'm looking at this season, like, definitely I want to win the Super Bowl. But another thing that's right there with the Super Bowl, can Carson Wentz stay healthy?
Can he stay healthy, and can he perform in the playoffs? Because he doesn't have Nick Foles.
Here's the reason why he deserves his Bring up Nick Foles. Here's the reason why he deserves that contract. First off, he recorded the best third year out of a quarterback in NFL history. All right,
Did he?
Number one highest quarterback rating with a 102.2. He had the number one highest completion percentage at 69.6% with a minimum of 400 attempts. He did all this, mind you, coming off of a torn ACL and a broken bone in his back. And he still put up those numbers. That's the reason why he deserves that contract. I'm saying all this because I have heard people say, hey, I don't think he deserved that contract. He's injury prone, blah, blah, blah. I just gave you numbers. Now, here's the reason why I like the contract. I like the contract because the guaranteed money is up front. And here's what that does in terms of the cap. That eliminates a lot of money off the cap
Which is
when that guaranteed money is all the way up front. Now, at first, it befuddled me. I'm like, why in the world is he getting so much money up front? Then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. That's money. That doesn't have to go on the cap. That goes straight in his pocket. That doesn't count against the books. That's perfect. We can still keep signing players. We can still keep re-signing players. We can still bring free agents in. So Howie Roseman didn't exactly put the Eagles into a bind with this contract. And we still get Carson Wentz for another 6 years. It's a win-win.
Well,
obviously,
did you doubt Howie at all?
No, I'm not. Of course not.
I
I'm
just-
not gonna doubt Howie.
I just thought it was hilarious when you were like, I just threw numbers at you. And last week you're like, I'm an eye test guy. Screw numbers.
No, you guys want to bring numbers in, so guess what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring numbers in.
I just couldn't help but
All
laugh.
right, listen. At first, I didn't think we should give Carson this extension. First off, because you stated it, injury prone. But he did throw for over. He played 11 games.
Yep.
And he threw for over 3,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That sounds good to me. That sounds real good to me. And he didn't play the rest of the 6 games, and
still put up the numbers that he did.
And then with this contract that brings him to 2024, and he'll be there, and we can. Hopefully, if he doesn't get injured, we can stop worrying about our quarterback position. And we do have other players that are here for 3 more seasons, like Zach Ertz, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Alshon, Malik Jackson, Deshaun Jackson, Nigel Bradham. And it's like, I feel very comfortable with this. This contract made me feel comfortable for many different reasons.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you have your core players locked up, and you have your franchise quarterback locked up. It's a win-win situation, and you can still bring people in as you're getting older, as players are getting older and players are ready to move on.
I mean, hey, listen, this is the price for a franchise quarterback now.
Yep.
You got to give him $100+ million. I like the point that you made with the guarantee money up front.
Now, I think the one thing about this contract that makes it interesting is that now I'm worried about the other 2 quarterbacks and the that came out with him and what they're going to get.
Yeah,
Jared,
you do. That's a good point you bring up because I saw a stat the other day. We look at Dak Prescott's numbers up and down the board. They're better than Carson Wentz's in a couple categories. Completion percentage is one of them. So the agent for Dak Prescott can show. Look at the stats from Carson Wentz compared to Dak. He should be getting more money.
But here's the reason why I say you can't necessarily just look at stats. Where did most of those numbers come from with Dak Prescott? Since Dak Prescott came to the Cowboys, he's had an entire team around him from day one. I mean, honestly, if we were drafted by the Cowboys back when...
No, thank you.
back when Carson Wentz and them was drafted, okay, and we played behind the wall of China. Okay, we had the wall of China as our offensive line. You had an All-Pro in your rookie season. You had an All-Pro tight end. You had an All-Pro wide receiver, and you had a pretty stout defense. How would you perform? Let's be honest. Carson Wentz came in with no wide receivers, a so-so offensive line, and a rebuilding defense. And
You're
still
not wrong.
perform.
This deal reminds me a lot of the Bryce Harper deal with the guarantee money up front, and then the spaced out, average annual, salary or value, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, again, I like the point there. I like to see what these other guys get, especially Dak Prescott. One thing I do want to address though is Malcolm Jenkins said he outplayed his contract. We all agree that he probably has, but at this point in training camp, mini camps, all that stuff, do we really want to negotiate with him?
No, I agree with him. I completely agree. I got some more numbers.
Ooh.
Now, he is the 9th highest paid safety currently in the NFL. Now, here are the safeties that are paid more than him. You have Adrian Amos at $9 million a year. Devin McCourty at $9.5 million. Harrison Smith at $10.25 million. LaMarcus Joyner, $10.5 million. Rashad Jones, $12 million. Earl Thomas, who just got signed to the Ravens, $13.75 million. Tyrann Mathieu, $14 million. Landon Collins, $14 million, which I'm not the biggest fan of Landon Collins because he's an in-the-box safety. So why not pay him
You
what
could
his
argue that all
just
those
due?
names are better than Malcolm Jenkins, though, in my opinion.
But did they play as many snaps as Malcolm Jenkins?
No, I agree what you're saying. The value that Jenkins brings to our team is maybe undervalued at sometimes, because he plays so many snaps. Sometimes, he's the only guy back there last year because we had so many injuries. So I do agree with what he's saying, but the names that you mentioned, they kind of deserve what they have, in my opinion.
And since 2014, Malcolm Jenkins has played in 80 games, where the next highest person that played the next highest games was Devin McCourty at 78. He's played in every single game. He hardly comes off the field.
Yeah, he is Mr. Consistent.
I've always been in the field of just paying players their just due.
I agree. I think he should be getting paid more. I think what he brings to this table for our team is sometimes we look at it and we're like, man, okay, we got especially last season, we got Jenkins out there, Malcolm Jenkins out there, and who else?
Exactly.
I feel like the only, in my opinion, he's the most important guy on this defense. I think even T said that before. The only guy who comes close is Fletcher to me. I also love how versatile he is because, that Super Bowl year, he played a lot at safety, corner, and linebacker. So he is a very versatile guy, and the guys seem to love him in the locker room. I know that's locker room stuff though. Yeah, he's definitely a guy I would like to keep around.
Okay. I think two things I want to point out right here: Carson Wentz's contract, the 4 years and $128 million. I was looking at other comparisons, like Garoppolo's getting paid like $37 million per year, and Carson, I think, will only be getting paid like $25 million a year. So again, with the average annual salary, stretch it out over that many years, and having the guarantee money up front helps us, like you said, T, with signing players. Yep. The last topic I want to talk about for the Eagles, the last thing I have here is the positions of weakness. I know we compare this team to 2017, maybe even last year's team with the talent, all kind of around the same. We got different players in here, but we know we're a really good team. We're probably a Super Bowl contending type of team. But when you look at this team, defense, offense, special teams, is there anywhere you guys point to that you say, man, I wish we had maybe a little bit of an upgrade at this position or that position?
I'm going to point to a position that Tanner said some time ago, and that was at defensive end.
Kicker. Oh.
Really?
What?
Really?
Come on, stop it.
What's the matter with you?
What?
What's the matter with
Why
you?
do you say defensive end, T?
I say defensive end for the same reasons Tanner gave, and that was who do you have behind Derek Barnett, and who do you have on the other end?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the injury possibility scares me because if
who do you have behind
Barnett goes down,
Graham and Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
Because remember, we like to rotate our defensive line. Now, defensive tackles, we are set. Hassan Gradway, Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, we are set at defensive tackle. But who do you have behind that defensive end?
Schwartz doesn't like to blitz ever. We got to get 4 there.
Exactly.
So it's going to be tough. These guys are going to be playing a lot of snaps, and it only takes one injury for us to get in trouble.
Growing up seeing Jim Johnson's defense, that disturbs me not blitzing. Like,
it's possible that some of these guys we drafted can take a step forward. I know Josh Sweat. A lot of people are looking at him like, man, he might have to play some meaningful snaps for us. We draft him in the 3rd round, or 3rd or 4th round. So I think if we can get maybe Sharif Miller, I know he's young and he's he doesn't have his feet under him yet. He's kind of raw. He's a raw talent.
Right.
But some of these guys may have to step up.
They don't have much of a choice but to step up because who else do you have?
Yeah.
I mean, behind them is Joe Osmond. I know everybody's been, piping him up in OTAs and mini camps, but that doesn't inspire me because I don't physically see him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know who he is. I don't have that much tape on him. Y'all know how I feel about tape. And y'all know defensive line, that's one of the positions that I watch very closely. I care so much about offensive and defensive line. So, who do you have at defensive end behind your first line?
You really got 3 names back there. You have Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, and Vinny Curry.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And even then, Vinny Curry came off a season where he had a high ankle sprain for the majority of the season, and he only put up 2.5 sacks.
Yeah.
So how productive is he going to be?
I just like him. I think he's going to have a solid season based on the fact that he's back in the system that he played well in 2017.
Okay. You can give me that. But that still doesn't ensure confidence in me. I need to physically see. Have you improved from last season?
So pessimistic.
Shut up.
Well, a problem we did have before the end of the
Shut your
season
yap.
was at cornerback, and hopefully everyone's more healthy than they were last year. But who are you most confident about in the backfield?
Who am I most confident about? Avonte Maddox. That's who I'm most confident about. That kid came in
the secondary or the running back
Secondary.
In the secondary.
That kid came in as a 4th round draft pick. First off, he came in and played slot corner and did fairly well. Then the Rodney McLeod injury happened, and then he had to play safety. But he played it so seamlessly. He's a natural-born secondary player. And honestly, even though he's going into his 2nd year, you can argue with me that he's the best corner that we have on the roster at a 2nd year.
I don't want to argue with you because I think it's pretty straightforward that Ronald Darby's our best corner. So he'll be back healthy this year. Hopefully, Jalen Mills.
He pisses me off.
Jalen Mills will probably start opposite of Ronald Darby. I mean, let's be honest. He's been here a while. He's got experience, coming off an injury.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know. I'm just a Ronald Darby guy. I think he's a good player. We traded a decent amount for him.
Okay, let me correct myself. I don't hate Ronald Darby.
And I don't hate Avonte Maddox.
I don't hate Ronald Darby. No, I know you don't. I don't hate Ronald Darby. I like he has pretty good coverage skills. My only problem with him is he can't tackle to save his life.
I'm worried about Jalen Mills.
And in this defense, that's worrisome. Now, the problem with Jalen Mills is he's really out of position. He really shouldn't be playing corner. He should be playing safety. We've addressed that. But for some reason, I don't know why, but I see them starting Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby at the corners, which will be a huge mistake when you have young corners, I think, that can complement each other and play better than those 2 duo players that you're going to put out there come day one.
I just think the coaching staff likes Jalen Mills' size. I think
so what?
He's a 6+. Yeah, I know, but we have our corners are. Our corners are for 6'3" is not 6'2", whatever he is.
No, he's 6 foot. That's it.
He's only 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's only 6 feet. He's
I'll have to
just
look
as
that
tall
one
as
up.
me.
I'm on the job.
All right, but I think
I hand slapped
if he
him
can
during
be
the
healthy,
parade.
I think he was hurt. He was playing a little. I mean, everybody in football towards the end of the season, especially, they start playing hurt. But I think if Jalen Mills can get, is healthy, and he's a guy that can't just play at 50, 75%. If he wants to maximize his skill set, he has to be 100% healthy. The one thing about him, I agree, he should probably be playing safety, but he's not. And I don't know how much confidence I have in him as a starter, but
None. Nope.
But
Hey,
we got to roll with it. This is what it is. This is what Howie put together and assembled. I still have confidence. I think our offense is going to score a ton of points.
You hit the nail around the head. 6 foot.
Is he 6 feet? Wow.
Yeah.
He's taller than that.
He's got 30 career pass deflections too,
There you go. There's
Wow.
the Chris.
Man, that's
on the stat.
ludicrous.
Wow.
and 1 defensive touchdown. I remember that one.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
Well, I do think before
San
the trade
Francisco.
deadline, we end up trading a cornerback that might be important to us right now, but I
Really?
think something's going to
What
happen.
about Cravion LeBlanc?
That's my
He's a very
prediction.
That's your trade prediction.
Yeah.
LeBlanc.
Crevion LeBlanc is a very underrated corner. I like his game. I like when he came in at the end of the season and the secondary really started to shape itself.
I like his confidence. He's got a lot of
He
confidence.
does.
He out there plays hard.
He has a lot of swagger. Remember, he's the one that got that interception in that Saints game in
Yeah.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that dude's got a lot of swagger. He is very
He's
underrated
playing well
player.
towards the end of
The
the season.
small guys stepped up a lot in the playoffs when we needed them to, and
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. Like I feel like your starting corners should be Sidney Jones, Rasul Douglas, and you said mix up Crevion LeBlanc and Avonte Maddox. And
We got a lot of guys in that secondary, and
do.
it's just a matter of who wants to step up and take the reins.
you do. Honestly, that's who I think y'all should start. Period.
All right, let's dive into some NBA talk here. Last topic of the day. Game 6 tonight in Golden State. The Raptors lead 3-2. First question, do the Warriors survive tonight, and do we go to a Game 7?
Oh, I've been waiting for this topic. Oh, boy.
What do we got? Real
Look
quick.
here.
Fire away.
Look here. The Raptors made a huge mistake. Why did the coach call a timeout?
Yeah,
when they went
3:05
on a
left in the fourth quarter.
10-0 run.
He called the timeout.
When
Nick
you
Nurse.
called the timeout, you gave the Warriors life. The Warriors are like the Patriots. You do not take your foot off their throats. When you are ready, when you want to finish them off, you finish them off. Do not give them a single dose of breath, because the minute you do, you messed up. They messed up. They're going to come now. The Warriors are home. They're going to take it to a Game 7. And what's going to happen? I ultimately think the Warriors are going to win, like I said, in Game 7.
So you think the Warriors win the series and three-peat it?
I think they're going to three-peat.
What about you, Tanner? What do you think?
Warriors in 7.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Chris,
I just can't
Please,
see
please,
Golden
please.
State.
Come on. Thank you. All right.
I just
like
can't.
it.
No, I didn't finish my sentence.
Oh, no!
I can't see Golden State losing at home again. I just can't. Man, I don't know. I was so confident in the Warriors just taking this series easily, but the Raptors have not made it easy for the Warriors.
No, they haven't.
No, they have not. But when I watch, I just see the Raptors as a more complete team, so I think I'm switching sides here. I think I'm going Raptors in 7.
I think the series ends tonight. I think the Raptors wrap this thing up tonight.
Realistically, I do think the series ends, but
I don't.
listen, I think it would be so cool. I'm not a Warriors fan, but it would be so cool to see the Warriors come back from a 3-1 and have that in the history books as well.
That would be something crazy.
And that would be crazy. But now, I mean, they didn't have KD for how many 2 rounds?
Yep.
And so that didn't really affect things up until this series, really. And since we're on it, let's talk about this KD injury and how they brought him in way too soon.
I agree with that.
Not way too soon, but a game too soon. And it's just so tragic
Is an outrage.
what happened. And this definitely affects his future with other teams, I think.
Yeah, when he goes down, we kind of knew it, obviously. I didn't know it was an Achilles. I know he was grabbing his Achilles, but he was grabbing his Achilles when he originally got hurt, and we found out it was just a calf strain, so I figured maybe he just re-aggravated it. He got up kind of the same way, couldn't put any weight on it, was kind of, limping off. So obviously nobody knew until the MRI results came back. And I wanted to ask you guys, was this more of to blame KD himself for, wanting to come back, wanting to three-peat? Or do you think the Warriors were like, you know what, man, we want the three-peat. We need KD out there. And they rushed him back a little bit.
I think it was both. I really do think it's both, because no professional athlete's like, I'll wait it out a little longer. When you're in the position where you're on the brink of elimination, I don't think any professional athlete will ever be like, no, I'm going to sit. They just have way too much pride.
Right.
Because professional athletes are all they're different people. Like people say, we just look at them as robots. We don't look at them as people, which is kind of sad to say, but I don't think any professional athlete's going to.
Yeah,
take a seat.
I was on the whole side of the Warriors wanting KD back, and they kind of rushed him back until I saw Durant's Instagram post yesterday, and he almost was saying like, I wanted to come back and three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
I know I wasn't 100%, but I wanted to come back and help, my teammates, reach another NBA Finals. So I do agree with you. I think it's both sides here.
Look, the doctors cleared him, and he said he wanted to play. He knew the risks.
We talked about this.
I know.
No sports doctors are smart doctors.
They're not. But guess what? They cleared him.
They sure did.
Now, I'm going to go into another reason why I say the Warriors are going to win, and it's called karma. Now I'm about to go on a rant.
Oh, okay.
Now,
I am pissed off.
I'm about to go on a rant.
Let's do it.
That was absolutely disgraceful what those Raptors fans did to cheer when Kevin Durant went down. Karma is a you-know-what, and it's going to come back to bite them right in the butt. And what's the painful part going to be? The championship's going to be won in their house, but it's going to be the Warriors hoisting up the trophy.
So you think it's going 7?
Oh, it's going to go 7.
And the Warriors are going to win in Toronto.
And the Warriors are going to win in
It's a
Toronto.
lot on Clay and Steph's back. I know,
But
the
now-
reason I say the Warriors are probably they can't win is because I saw Steph drop 45, 50 points in game 4, 3, 4, whatever it was.
It was 3.
They still lost.
Yeah.
So
That
I
was
mean,
ju-
he can
that
only
was
do
just Curry.
he can only do so much.
That was just
Yeah.
Curry.
Something that I thought was really surprising, back to the KD injury and his contract and everything. The Warriors were, before he got injured this last time, ready to offer him a long-term contract for being able to opt out at any point. So he was going to be allowed to leave at any point during the contract. They were going to offer him that. But now, I don't think they do that.
No.
I don't think that.
Well, here's a situation that I've heard and read an article on. Kevin Durant has a $31 million opt-in with Golden State this year, but he's already said to, I guess, reporters or sources that it's a last resort for him. So how many teams or any team specifically do you guys think offer him the max contract?
I don't think the max is going to be offered for him, but I do think he's still going to get offers because he's still Kevin Durant. Granted, he's probably not going to be able to play until maybe midway or end of the next season around playoff time, but I do think there are teams that are going to pursue him. They're just not going to give him the max.
I'm interested to see that because if say he's wherever he goes, say that team, it's Golden State, New York, wherever he goes, say they're in a spot, say they're going into the playoffs, he wouldn't have picked up a basketball or played a game in almost a year at that point. Would he just, because I'm only asking this question because we saw him fight back and want to play even that he was injured. Do you think, obviously he would probably want to play if that scenario were to happen next season, but do you think he should just be smart and maybe just sit the whole year out and get healthy for the following season?
That would be the smart thing to do, but
He won't want to.
Exactly.
Not at all.
Exactly. It's the smart thing to do to sit out the entire year because an Achilles injury, you don't know how you're going to come back from that.
Basketball's all running and jumping, man.
Kobe tried to come back from an Achilles injury, and he was never the same. He
Yeah.
was never the same.
I think KD actually went to the same doctor that performed the surgery on Kobe.
And Kobe Bryant was never the same.
Let me tell you,
After that,
New York is going to be scary next season.
Now, why do you say that?
So we got the Nets looking for big guys.
Kyrie, yeah, I seen
Kyrie,
that.
he's signing with Jay-Z's agency, so he's going to New York, no doubt. But
we just don't know which one yet.
yeah, I think he would be more interested. That the Knicks are actually not pursuing Kyrie anymore because they know he's more interested in joining the Nets. So that leaves the Knicks, the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Nets again interested in Kevin Durant still. So, that's
The Nets are in our division, so it would kind of suck if Kyrie goes
It
there.
would.
yeah.
But I think if we
a
can
pain in my
say
rear
we
end.
don't resign Tobias, I think if we don't resign Jimmy, say we resign Tobias, that's pretty even. If Kyrie and D'Angelo Russell, that backcourt would be insane. But I think if we can resign Jimmy, that still gives us the upper hand on them. The one thing I don't want to see is AD, Anthony Davis, go to the
Boston
Celtics. 'Cause
That
I don't.
Oh my!
Gosh, no.
that would be crazy. I'd rather see him just go out to LA, enjoy himself out there, see him twice a year.
Yeah. Go out in LA.
It's stupid.
Go out in LA.
The Pelicans want Kyle Kuzma in a trade with the Lakers, but the Lakers don't want to give up Kuzma.
I wouldn't want to give up Kuzma either.
I know. Kuzma's a great player, but I think Kyrie to the Nets is definitely
I think that's the most realistic.
Probably going to happen. And man, that'll be fun to watch. That backcourt of D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving. We're going to have to see him 4 times a year, which wouldn't be great. But the Nets were a pretty good team this year. I know they were the 6th seed, but
they got
some good pieces.
I said they were an underrated team going into the playoffs, and they are going to continue to build. They are going to be a pain in the rear end for years to come. That's another division opponent for us to have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
And before we get out of here, I don't want to hear no more rhetoric about Philadelphia fans and how we treat athletes. I don't want to hear it no more. I am just so upset from what the Raptors fans did. You have players telling them to pipe it down and calm down. Seriously?
Everybody, people in Jurassic Park outside the arena, people inside the arena on the court, everybody, and you saw it. They had the flashback angle. Everybody stood up, the flashback angle of camera, and everybody just stood up, cheering, pointing at them, clapping.
Yeah, that one guy just, jeez, it was almost sickening.
I don't want to hear nobody say anything about Philadelphia fans ever again.
The announcers were even noticing it. The announcers were surprised.
I mean, look, T. We've earned our reputation. They're not going to stop talking about us being one of the.
But the reputation is bull.
Yeah,
and we all know that.
We just care more than everyone else.
But we're not as bad as people make us out to be. People make us out to be just animals.
You throw one snowball at Santa Claus and you're a bad guy for life.
Yeah, like what the hell?
At least we don't laugh at people's injuries as they're getting walked off.
Couple side notes here before we head out of here. I just want to point out, prayers up to David Ortiz. He got shot in the Dominican Republic. I know growing up watching baseball, one of the class act guys around the league.
The only Boston athlete I like honestly.
I respect David Ortiz.
Around the Boston Marathon time, he came out. Yeah. He was so, encouraging in how he handled that whole situation around the city. Yeah. So it just sucks to see that happen to him. He had surgery. They flew him back to Boston. So hopefully he just gets a nice, speedy recovery. One thing I want to point out, just another topic about the women's national team scoring 13 goals in the World Cup. I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
Quit your complaining. Yeah, they were in the score. Quit your complaining. My coach used to say, you want somebody to stop cheering? Stop them.
I mean, if we win this World Cup, it's 2 in a row. I know the soccer around here is not huge, but it'd be nice to see the men's national team play well because, World Cup around the whole world is huge. It's huge. Every country's into it. Mm-hmm. So, shout out to them. That was great.
If I could just have 2 minutes of shameless hockey talk.
There you go. That's all. You take it away.
So St. Louis, oh my God, they almost shot themselves in the foot when they made that newspaper.
I hear you.
Before Game 6, where they were like, "We won the cup," and then they lost 5-1. Jeez.
Oh man, that's irritating.
They almost shot themselves in the foot. They did it in Boston. Haha, screw you, Boston.
The whole crowd around St. Louis when they lost Game 6 was almost.
It's funny to me too.
They were down. We had no shot of winning.
Yeah, they were
almost.
Because honestly, it looked like Boston's championship to lose again. Just freaking Boston, just start losing. And one other thing. There's
it's an outrage.
Shut up. No, there's talk about trading Shane Gostisbehere, and the rumor I'm seeing is they want to trade him to Montreal for 2 guys named Andrew Shaw and Paul Byron.
That's not true.
Very good.
If that trade happens, I will come in here when we don't have a show scheduled and yell for a half hour. If that happens,
so are you only saying that because you're a big Gostisbehere fan, or these guys aren't?
These guys are not good. This to put it in a Game of Thrones analogy, this is like the Night King trading away 2 of his foot soldiers for a dragon. Okay.
Actually, that big of a difference?
Okay. Philadelphia will love Andrew Shaw because he's a guy who runs around and hits people. He's a goon.
As Peter Laviolette once said.
I'm not putting up with it.
Yeah.
It's too much horse shit. It's too much.
Okay, Philadelphia will love Andrew Shaw because he's a goon that goes around and hits people, and Paul Byron is a guy who can maybe get 12 goals a year. Trading Shane Gostisbehere away, that like I said, that's like the Night King trading away 2 foot soldiers for a dragon. Like, nah, screw that noise. Anyway,
listen, I'm me, Chris. I can talk some Flyers with you here and there, but I think that if we trade away Gostisbehere, because I've never been the biggest Gostisbehere fan, to be honest with you, I feel like we can get talent back from him or for him.
This is not talent though. These are 2 plugs that know how to skate.
I know, but we had this conversation earlier, man. We need to get
Okay, that's another thing I wish I could argue with you. Look, we've been we've been getting assets since 2014. I'm sick of gathering assets, getting draft picks. All right, we've been doing it since 2014.
I think we need to rebuild. I told you we need to rebuild.
We've been rebuilding since 2014.
Yeah.
We are loaded in the minor leagues.
I want to point out to you that the St. Louis Blues were in dead last place on January 3rd.
Yeah, they sure
and
were.
And they came back
and
they
they
won.
brought
Craig
up
Berube.
some goof
Craig
named Jordan
Berube, the head coach of the St. Louis Blues, is now a Stanley Cup. Everybody who leaves the Flyers just goes and wins a cup.
They brought up some goon named Jordan Binnington, who suddenly just happened to be a good goalie. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know.
Boots to asses.
There's like 16 names I saw that like the Flyers like got rid of, and now they're Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, Braden Shen.
Chemo team in it a couple years ago too. All right, fellas.
It's about damn time.
Backstreet Sports every Thursday, 11 to noon over the summer. We'll see you next week.
ThackerPortfolio.wordpress.com.
That's right. Visit that site.
You big dummy.